think a lot of us would agree that video game glitches can be a lot of fun, although that said, they are sometimes annoying, just like moving, which is what I'm doing, so ignore everything behind me, or pay attention, it's up to you, I don't mind. Back to video game glitches, they either create hilarity with weird graphical errors or can be used to exploit the game in a way the developers didn't plan for. Unfortunately, in some cases, games can come out with glitches that prevent you from finishing them. From that point, your only choice is to start over and lose your progress, or let's face it, maybe you decide to just put the game down entirely. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 infamous video game glitches that cost you 100%. Number 10, Developer Mode, Doom, 2016. Imagine starting a game and unknowingly triggering a bug that prevents it from tracking your progress. Now picture what it would feel like to discover the bug after you've played the game for hours. And you get the horror story that a considerable number of Doom players experienced this during its initial 2016 launch. Yes, 2016's Doom reboot had a bug that would stop you from getting all achievements and had shut down online functionality. The bug, which was unknown at the time, would make the Steam versions of the game run in a faux developer mode that didn't actually give you any of the functionalities of the developer mode, but still prevented you from cheating with it. The game never informed you that the mode was on, so if you didn't pay any attention, you could easily play through most of the game and then experience a gut-wrenching shock when you discover that your efforts weren't recognized by Steam and you had to do everything from the start if you want your achievements recognized. If you managed to turn off the developer mode beforehand, and that was easier said than done, it would require a full reinstall of the game and verifying files. Long story short, be glad that bug was fixed sooner rather than later. Number 9, Xeno'jiiva, Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Xeno'jiiva is the final boss of Monster Hunter World's Iceborne DLC. Now, she's an enormous dragon with crap tons of HP, devastating attacks, and the ability to delete your save file. Yep, shortly after the release of Iceborne, some players reported random crashes during the final fight with Xeno'jiiva, which would permanently delete their save files upon rebooting the game. The crashes happened after defeating Xeno'jiiva, meaning that the error would erase entire playthroughs from start to almost finish, forcing you to play through the entire game and its DLC all over again if you wanted to get all the achievements and enjoy the content you unlock after finishing the game. As you can imagine, the possibility and probability of losing all of your progress in the game and then not being able to play past this point made plenty of players plenty afraid of Xeno'jiiva, even more than they probably already were. Once the bug became well known, most people entered the final boss arena with anxiety, unable to tell if they were going to be defeated by her frosty attacks or her data erasing cutscenes. Even now, after the fight has been long patched, Xeno'jiiva still strikes fear into the hearts of the game's community. Number 8, Score Conversion Bug, Tokyo Extreme Racer 3. The process of localizing a game is usually pretty convoluted, and it can lead to some inevitable bugs, usually something about the translations being off. But in this particular case, it led to a bug that would make the game unable to be finished. The progression in 2001 PlayStation 2 game Tokyo Extreme Racer 3 is done via a points system. You unlock new stages and challenges by raising your credit score, and the race against the game's final boss, Whirlwind Fanfare, requires you to accumulate the maximum score cap of 100 million CR. The problem is that due to localization issues, the North American version of the game has improperly converted the game's native currency of yen into dollars, and this has shifted the game's credit score cap below the required number. The localized version stops your counting score at 99,999,990. Meaning that you can never unlock the race with the final boss and get 100% completion. See, somehow even when you're not traveling, those currency exchanges are really gonna get you. Number 7, Esbern, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Skyrim's NPC's intelligence is on par with that of a lobotomized hamster. For the most part, this means you get to exploit their programming, benefiting from putting pots over their heads and rubbing them blind or getting away with murder because no one can remember anything for longer than 3 seconds. However, in the case of Esbern, who's the second half of Skyrim's blades, it can actually lead to an interaction that causes a soft lock, stopping you from finishing the game. In the main mission story, Alduin's Wall, Esbern interprets the carvings on the titular wall to help your character discover a way to defeat Alduin. Afterward, you're meant to speak with him, but due to a mysterious bug, Esbern can decide to give you the cold shoulder. forever. The old man will refuse to interact with you, and if you don't have backup saves from before starting the mission, you won't be able to complete it and continue the main quest. Yet again, the Blades of Skyrim proved to be more of a hindrance than a help. Number 6. Save size limit. Fallout New Vegas. Anyone who's played Fallout New Vegas knows it's not the most stable game out there. Its infinite loading screen bug and glitchy NPCs can be annoying to deal with, but there's one even worse issue present in the PlayStation 3 version. And it's not just annoying, it's absolutely game-breaking. Due to the console version's limitations, any saves you've got for New Vegas will have a maximum memory limit on the machine, meaning that eventually at some point you're going to fill it up and then it's no more saves for you. Of course, New Vegas doesn't warn you that you're reaching that limit, and in some cases, it will actually allow you to save when you're past it, leading to a corrupted and unusable save file. Either way, you're limited in how much you can do in the game, and as you can imagine, that makes finishing it quite difficult, especially if you're the type of person who loves to do every quest and activity before the final mission, or if you're someone like me who has literally thousands of saves in a game like Baldur's Gate 3. If you found you've unknowingly overloaded your memory space with large heaps of data in this case, you're out of luck. Oh, you wanted to experience the full game on this one? Sorry, but unless your experiences will fit on a floppy disk, you're in trouble. Number 5. Greatest Rayman ever. Rayman Raving Rabbids. Sometimes a bug doesn't have to be some kind of nefarious programming error that gradually breaks the game. In the case of Rayman Raving Rabbids, it's the result of poor foresight on the developer's part that leads to some rather infuriating consequences. One of the game's achievements, called Greatest Rayman Ever, is actually impossible to obtain because there were some miscalculations on the studio's part. The achievement requires you to get 183,000 points in score mode, but the most points you can get in this mode falls shortly under 180,000. Because of this, you can never get the achievement, and if you're the type of person who's proud of getting 100% on all the games they play, Raving Rabbids will be an irreversible stain on your perfect collection as soon as it's added to your profile. The worst part is the game isn't even that good, so not being able to complete it because of this little glitch is absolutely infuriating. It's as though one of those smug rabbits gave you a digital slap in the face for being dumb enough to buy their unfinished mess. Number 4. Memory Wipe. Soul Calibur 3. Finishing Soul Calibur 3 can be an incredibly arduous task, which is why you're probably going to want to save early and often. The problem, however, is that saving too much can actually remove your progress altogether, thanks to the infamous Soul Calibur 3 memory corruption bug. Back in the PS2 era, a large group of players made the unfortunate discovery that their brand new copy of Soul Calibur 3 would randomly corrupt their save files, completely preventing them from loading them up. It was eventually discovered that the reason behind the data corruption was modifying other files on the memory card with your Soul Calibur save. What this meant was that deleting or altering save files from other games, or even other Soul Calibur files, would trigger the corruption bug. In summary, you basically had to dedicate a blank memory card specifically for one and only one Soul Calibur data file, or else you could never progress through the game. Unfortunately, the bug is still present in the regular version of the game, so if you don't want to have to deal with it, you're going to need the Platinum Edition. Number 3. Teleport Glitch. Fallout 4. Now, Bethesda games have so many bugs and glitches that there are loads of memes of Todd Howard calling them features. But while most of these features are all fun and games for the most part, this one notorious glitch in their 2015 Fallout 4 release has made history for breaking the player's game so much they couldn't finish the main story. The infamous teleporting platform bug was an error that occurred during the mission The Molecular Level, in which you assemble a teleport inside one of your settlements. Due to the finicky nature of the settlement building mechanics, in some cases, the game wouldn't register that you put down certain parts of the machine in your quest log. Once that happened, you better have made some backup saves before starting the mission, or else you had to abandon your save and start over. Stripping the contraption down and rebuilding it again wouldn't fix the issue, nor would reloading your saves, and boy do I remember putting up with this one now that I've mentioned it. The bug was so bad it forced some players to give up on their playthroughs altogether. In fact, even though the mission is patched now, some players still feel anxious whenever they get to the building part of the main storyline. Some players, including me. Number 2. Yoga Glitch. Grand Theft Auto 5. The case of Grand Theft Auto 5's game-breaking bug is a particularly interesting one, since it's not about corrupted files or irreversible damage, but in fact, two middle-aged men struggling to do yoga. The yoga bug occurred on some of the PlayStation 3 copies of Grand Theft Auto 5, which would fail to unlock the yoga minigame after the player has completed the mission related to the activity. At first glance, this might not seem like a big deal, and for this reason, most victims of the bug didn't pay much attention to it, until it becomes an unfathomably huge deal. In order to get 100% completion in the game, if that's something you want to do, you have to complete most of the minigames, and wouldn't you know it, yoga is on that list. Once you become aware of the issue and its consequences for your almost perfect save file, being unable to practice yoga as Michael and Trevor can be soul-crushing. Worst of all, if your copy is one of the faulty ones, there's no way to fix the bug. Your only option is to start the game over and pray to the yoga gods that you'll be able to shavasana your way into peace this time. Number 1. Quiet Glitch, Metal Gear Solid 5. Quiet is one of the more interesting characters in Metal Gear Solid 5, and absolutely a fan favorite character. Except for those who were unlucky enough to experience the infamous Quiet glitch and unexpectedly lost all their progress. Yes, aside from her mutant powers, Quiet used to possess the ability to permanently corrupt your save file thanks to a particularly nasty bug. The now patched bug cost hundreds of players their save files just because they decided they wanted to take Quiet out as a companion shortly after recruiting her. And why wouldn't you? Turns out there are 2 specific missions that would secretly mess up the game's script if you brought Quiet along for them, and if you tried to load your save file afterwards, the game would flash you a corrupted file warning preventing you from continuing. The worst part was that you had no way of knowing what had happened until the consequences of teaming up with Quiet reared their ugly heads. The bug was like what Psycho Mantis probably wishes he could do to your game if he was an actual evil villain and not just like a parlor trick magician reading your save files for giggles.